So, technically speaking, from, our influencer circle, does this mean that I'm an Oz historian because I'm published? Hello, fellow Ozians, and welcome to the channel. Today, we are going to be discussing the latest issue of the International Wizard of Oz Club's journal, the Baum Bugle. But more specifically, my contribution to this issue of the Baum Bugle, because yours truly wrote one of the articles inside the latest issue. Let's discuss. Earlier in the year, I was contacted by the editor of the Baum Bugle to potentially write an article that discussed the new dolls that were released for the Wicked movie that were made by Mattel. And my response was, well, yeah, I can do that. But I wanted to know what the angle of the article was going to be. And the editor really, she didn't have an answer for me. So I said, okay. Give me a week and I'll kind of start brainstorming and I'll see if I can come up with a couple different scenarios and then I'll let you pick the one that you think is the best one. So I came up with 3 different ways of writing this article. And the first one was the one that she gave me, the initial idea, which was to just discuss the new dolls that Mattel released as part of Universal's new movie. And then the next idea was to discuss all of the Wicked dolls that had been released, starting with the ones made by Madame Alexander and moving to the newest ones. And then, finally, the final prompt was how the book and the play Wicked changed the way that the Wicked Witch has been depicted in doll form since the beginning of how Wicked Witch dolls were made. Naturally, she liked the most complicated one. Really loved my life. So I knew at this point we're going to be talking about a lot of dolls. And not only that, but I'm going to have to then start being selective on which dolls we're going to talk about. Because obviously, you can't talk about them all. Like, you can't. That's just going to get absolutely ridiculous. So that was my next thing to do, was to kind of draft, okay, which dolls do I think are the most important to talk about, and which ones can I omit? So the first ones to go were going to be all of the celebrity dolls, as they call them, which would be any of the Wicked Witch dolls that were made to look exactly like Margaret Hamilton. And the reason why I got rid of those was so that we could just talk about the Wicked Witch in a more broad strokes, generic kind of way, in how the character is depicted, and not how the dolls represent a person. The dolls are representing a character. The next thing I then had to figure out was, where is that turning point of when we're starting to actually see the shift happen? And this is where we discuss a doll that I would assume most of you have never seen. And that's because this doll was never made. And that is Mattel's original Wicked Witch Barbie doll that was supposed to be part of the Hollywood Legends collection. And the fun part about this Baum Bugle is that there is a picture of a couple of these sample dolls that's in here. I was able to contact a collector who happens to own 3 prototype Wicked Witch Barbie dolls from this line, and he very graciously allowed us to use a picture of his dolls. So that is included inside this Baum Bugle. Now, of course, if this doll had been released, she would have been the first fashion doll version of the Wicked Witch. That wasn't meant to look ugly, that wasn't meant to have an overall evil look. If you get what I'm saying, she would have been the first one to have that turning point. So since that doll was not released, the technical first one is Tonner's 16-inch Wicked Witch of the West doll from 2005. And I have discussed this doll on the channel, so if you have never seen this doll and you're wondering what she looks like, I'll leave a link in the description down below to that video. This is the doll that pretty much changed the way that we see the Wicked Witch and how the Wicked Witch is depicted today, because everything kind of rolls back to what Tonner did. Tonner's Wicked Witch was glamorous. She was beautiful. All of those ugly features that we see in earlier dolls, they're not here. The witch has a more softer face. She has makeup. She has nail polish. There's a lot of different features that this doll has that a lot of dolls before her did not have. And a lot of dolls after her definitely have a lot of these features. So to not go into everything, that was at least the turning point. Now, how long did it take me to write this thing? Well, the initial first rough draft probably took a total of 6 hours. I really just kind of took 2 hours after getting home from work to just kind of literally spit out that first draft. It was very rough. But there were 3 drafts of this article. A lot of the details that are in the article, I quite literally just spat out on the page and then afterwards looked it up to make sure that I was right. So, might not be the best way of writing, but that's how I did it. There wasn't really much that I had to correct. If anything, from what I remember, I think I was pretty much spot on with most of it. I have a very good memory. If you haven't figured that one out. The writing process on this one was actually not bad. If you're interested in writing for the Baum Bugle, the editor is very good at giving you good advice on how to improve what you've written so that anyone and everyone who reads it can understand exactly what you want out of this. So she was a lot of help, and I really appreciated her help. One of the things that I was also very excited to include in this article were little bits and pieces that I had originally written that was to be included in an article that never happened back in 2017 that was all about the Wizard of Oz dolls by Robert Tonner. There is a lovely quote from Robert Tonner that's in this article, and there's also some pictures that I took all the way back in 2017 for that article that finally get to appear inside the Baum Bugle all these years later. So that was a lot of fun. And if, of course, you were interested in writing for the Baum Bugle, check the description down below for more information on how you can submit an idea. Now, this isn't the first time that I have written for the Baum Bugle. I have actually written and been published in other previous issues, some of which that we've covered on the channel. But this is one of the bigger ones that I, at least, have been part of. So, technically speaking, from, our influencer circle, does this mean that I'm an Oz historian because I'm published? I have never considered myself an Oz historian. I've first and foremost always considered myself an Oz enthusiast. And a collector. Clearly. And I've had different people call me a historian, but I don't really feel like a historian. I feel like I'm just another Oz fan. The only difference between me and you is I make videos. There are plenty of people that are way smarter than me and know way more than me about a lot of different aspects of Oz. So, you're never gonna hear me claiming that I'm somehow an expert. Have you picked up the latest issue of the Baum Bugle? This particular one looks at the new movie version of Wicked. So if you are a big Wicked fan and you want to have this in your collection, be sure to join the International Wizard of Oz Club and pick up this latest issue. And if you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. New videos are posted every 2 weeks on the 15th and last day of each month. And if that doesn't satisfy your appetite for Oz, follow the link in the description to ozclub.org and join the International Wizard of Oz Club. Until next time, bye y'all.